Hello everyone, we're talking about the Mercury 9. I got the base work done today. Well, not the base work done. Nowhere near done. I got the road bed laid, is what I did. It's right here. Command center is going to go here. Mercury 9 itself goes here. Helipads are going to go here. I think I might have a little parking lot here with a Humvee or something like that. And I'm going to build half a warehouse back here. Not much of a warehouse. It's going to have a back on it, I think, because I don't have time to detail out the inside of the warehouse. Although I don't think it would be all that hard to do. Just some shelves with some boxes. I can make boxes just by cutting up square tubing of styrene real quick. With the chopper, yeah, that would take me like 20 minutes to fill a shelves full of boxes. So I may do it. We'll see. I'll put the back on at the very end. But let's talk about what we've done so far. I don't need a zoom in. This thing's pretty big. Let's turn it up. Okay. Now, you saw me making the base in an earlier video. Okay. This material back here is lightweight spackling, and it worked very, very well as a background on the base. I had problems using the paper mache stuff last time because it shrank as it dried and it bent the boards and things. And I sealed up the boards underneath the paper mache this time to prevent that. Put primer on it, you saw that, and the wood was sealed. And this cured for a week. I let this white spackle cure for a week, and it is cured now. Alright, the plastic, this is square grid sidewalk. I thought it would look pretty interesting to have the Mercury 9 sitting on it. Like it's a big thick concrete pad or a granite pad or some other natural stone pad where they brought in big blocks of it so that to hold this thing's immense weight because it's huge. This is a landing strip. I have that C-130. Provided I have the time to get the C-130 built, it will be on this strip. I'm already thinking of putting it in a landing position, but where it's actually coming in for a landing right about here with the warehouse is here. Not sure of that yet. We'll see what I do there. We got a roadway here. Now let's talk about all this. Okay. C-130, if I remember correctly, has a 140-foot wingspan. No, 132-foot wingspan or 40.41 meter wingspan. And at 1/350 scale, that comes out to be about, what does that come out to be? Let's grab Mr. Calculator and find out real quick. So it's 40 meters times 100, put it in centimeters, that's times 400, let's make that 100, and then divided by 350 because that's the scale. Comes out to be 11 centimeters wide, and my runway here is a little bit more than 11 centimeters wide, if I remember correctly. It is 12 centimeters wide, so it comes out just right. Okay, the C-130 sits on there just perfectly. Now, the roadways, I did some looking. European roadways are narrower than U.S. roadways. And I think I put this up in a video earlier. It came out to scale in a segment before this one. It came out at scale of being about 1 centimeter wide for each lane. This is a military base. It might have some tanks running around on it. And I have tanks, and I'm going to put some on here. And I started looking at it and said to myself, that's just not going to work. Okay? So I made them a little bit bigger. I think they're 1.3 centimeters wide, which means they're 5 meter wide lanes or 15 foot wide. And if you look at a truck on there, it's just about right. The truck has plenty of room. We're not going to be crowding anyone. And I built one of the trucks, by the way. There's 4 pieces total to this truck. And I'm going to see if I can't light the headlights and the tail lights on it so it looks like it's lit as it's driving down the road. But that's neither here nor there. So I designed the lanes to be just a little bit too wide. These turnouts are 2.25 centimeter half circles. I have a circle template I use to cut them out with. I cut a master and use the master to cut the rest. I use one of these drafting circle templates. And I used a master and used it to cut the one over there so the lanes look correct. So there you go. There's the groundwork. Up next is I got to start making street lights and start doing that warehouse. The command center just needs a little bit more light blocking, and it's ready for its color coat. Mercury 9, you'll see it in the next segment. I've got a little bit of work to do on it before it can get some paint. Oh, and there's two more things. This, I keep all my model parts in Ziploc baggies so I do not lose them while I'm working on a kit. I usually kept them in drawers in a rollaway cart, but with us packing, hang on a second, BB. With us packing up the house and stuff, it's just not practical. The other thing I wanted to talk to you guys about is how I precisely cut these runway pieces, because they are all exactly the same size. And the length here is the same, because I figured that's about as long as I can make a concrete slab. Okay? I use duplicator. Pretty nice little tool. It's made for this sort of thing. What you have are two screws on it, right here and here. You loosen the screws, and you can set this plate where you want it and tighten it back down. That way you can just repeatedly put styrene sheet in here and cut it the exact same length every single time. So if I'm building 4 or 5 buildings that are identical, like I might build 2 warehouses here, I can cut 2 identical parts to them real quickly and know they're precisely the same, because this is set the way it is. The only thing I wish this thing had was a scale along one side, or a scale underneath here, so I know how far up and down I'm moving it before I do my cuts, so I know exactly how long the cuts are. Right now I'm having to measure out where the prime cut goes and align it with this edge and then do my cut, because I'm not sure exactly how far back that is. I could stick a plastic ruler in there. But other than that, this thing works really well. It wasn't real expensive if I remember right. I got it from Northwestern Shortline, www.nwsl.com. They don't even know I have the thing, so that's not a paid promo or nothing. I'm just telling you guys where you can find one if you decide to get one yourself. If you get into scratch building buildings, that is. If you're not scratch building buildings, I wouldn't necessarily get it. I'd get a chopper though if you start scratch building, because that chopper is very, very useful. Well, that's it for this segment. I'll be back in a minute with the Mercury 9 itself. Folks, got the Mercury 9 here as promised. All the light leak blocking is done, but I ran into one problem. I got the paint so thick on these upper surfaces trying to block the paint before I got smart and got a paintbrush after it that I lost all the detail. So I had to strip the paint off just those fins. Okay? The primer I'm using is really, really good primer. Really good. It's really hard. It's really tough. Almost impossible to sand off. A lot of work to get that off there. But I got all the details back where I can see them again. Now I'm going to rescribe all those lines and restore them, and then I'm going to paint this thing to get her back where she belongs. She needs to be cleaned up before I paint it too, because there's sanding dust on there. The overspray is taken care of too. I had some overspray in a few spots. It's been sanded down and taken care of. So there's no more light leaks on this thing anywhere. I still have a few spots that need just a teeny bit of attention with detailed sanding. But other than that, she's getting ready for paint. Okay? So I'm going to sit down with a file and a pick and clean out those spots. And when they're cleaned out, I can paint her. I'll be back later. Alright, working on Mercury 9. About to start working on the street lights. I made a prototype street light. And here's the result. It's not bad shape-wise. It's in scale with 1/350 scale, except for it's a little too short. It's about a ½ centimeter too short. And this is brass tube that I managed to bend without collapsing it. Talk about that in a little bit, because I got to make about 6, 7 of these things. You also notice I have wires going through. I was verifying that 2 strands of my magnet wire will fit through them, and they will. So what I'm about to do is start working with magnet wire and start soldering up some of these SMDs, LEDs, because they'll fit right on the end of the streetlight just perfectly. And a teeny bit of Abe's epoxy sculpt, and I'm going to have myself a really neat looking streetlight. Okay? Now, magnet wire has a coating on it, an enamel coating, from what I read. And you have to remove that coating in order to solder the magnet wire. I'm doing bad camera angles again. You have to remove that coating in order to solder the magnet wire. I'm no longer using the soldering iron I had before. I have a new one that's not being cooperative at the moment and coming out from its little hole in the bottom. It's right here. Xtronic 4000 series. I can set the temperature on it, and that's the happy thought for me. Okay? I've been setting this on the floor. I'm about to change that because I tripped over it earlier today with it on, and that was bad. Though they have the soldering stations up here. Being able to control the temperature has been very, very nice, and it works much better. Oh, BB was by to visit. She's not here right now. Mom took her away so I could work in some peace and quiet for a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and start cutting up some magnet wire, but what I want to talk to you guys about is how to strip the enamel coating off. I just use a fireplace lighter. Got it at the dollar store. I can put new butane in it. Works real good. It does get that off. Just don't hold the magnet wire very close to the flame, or you're going to burn yourself. As soon as that magnet wire is glowing red, you know you got the coating off. That's all there is to it. It's real simple, real easy. That one's ready for soldering. After I've soldered up 5 or 6 of these, I'll videotape actually soldering one so you guys can see how to solder these little tiny SMD LEDs. That little yellow dot right there is one of these LEDs. It is tiny, about the size of the head of a pin. So I'm going to get off here. I'm going to get going. I've got to get a better magnifying glass because these aren't going to cut it for this one. I need much better. I'll be back in a bit. Taking me about an hour. I have Mr. Prototype Streetlight working. I'm sure you guys can see it, and it's going to illuminate just like a streetlight would. I'm very happy with the end results. It's a little fragile with the connections down at the bottom. It's not the connection at the top. See, if I hold it at the bottom, it's fine. It just doesn't have a good one where it's connected to the power supply. But I like how that works. That's going to light up the ground very well. I don't think I need as many of them as I think. But at least I got the first one done. Prototype done. Yeah, I got to go out and bend a bunch of tubes. And I've got to, and I'll explain how I'm bending the tubes in a little bit. Because bending tubes can be very tricky without crushing them. I need to solder up a bunch more. Took me a while to solder the first one. Yeah. And I've got at least 7 more of these little buggers to solder. But it's going to throw off plenty of light and look just like a street light. And that's my idea. Be back in a little while. Hello everyone. I'm working on street lights here. I have 4 of them bent. What I did is I've taken some brass tubing. You've seen me talking about soldering up the LEDs, the teeny tiny little LEDs. I got them all soldered. They're sitting in a Ziploc bag over here waiting for these tubes. Now, bending brass tubes can be a problem because they're hollow. And when you bend a hollow tube, it can go bonkers. Bend and break and cave in on itself. Also, I'm trying to bend all these so they're uniform, because streetlights are very uniform, right? So we need to see something that looks the same. So what I did to make sure I'm bending them all the same is I built a bending jig. Okay? Now I know every single one of them bends the same way every single time. There's a little bit of fudge here and there, but not much. Let me drop the camera a little bit on the bending jig so you can watch me bend one, because I got one ready to go. I just place it in the bending jig right there. That one's off a little bit. There we go. Everyone see where it is? I'm putting it between these first 2 screws right here. These first 2 screws hold it. It bends around this one and it stops on this one back here. And I just bend it with my hands. Now that won't keep the tube from crushing. Okay, I got it bent. What keeps the tube from crushing is this piece of piano wire that's inside the tube. And once I bend it, take a pair of needle nose pliers, grab hold of it. I grab hold of the tube with this pair of flat jaw pliers, and I pull that piece of piano wire out. It takes a little bit, but you can see I got the piano wire out, and my tube has a bend in it, and those pliers notched it because I grabbed it wrong. That's okay, I cut 2 or 3 extras of these so I could throw out 1 or 2 of them that come out bad. Alright, now that's the procedure I'm using to bend these tubes. Thought I'd show you guys what I'm doing to get these Streetlights uniform. I gotta get moving or this thing's gonna bite me. Talk to you later.